So children, today we are stepping into the frosty and fiery mind of Robert Frost. His poem Fire and Ice is only 9 lines long, but it carries a warning as big as the world itself. The poem Fire and Ice. Let's hear it before I start explaining. Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. So, let's move on with the explanation. You'll often be asked, how can the world end? During your exams, in your paper, if you have to be discussing in the classroom, the question that will crop up is often, how do you think will the world end or can it end? Now, Frost here gives us two scientific theories, but he is actually talking about something much deeper, that is about human emotions. So if fire and ice are geographical phenomenon, have a scientific basis, Robert Frost actually parallels it with human emotions. Now these symbols, fire and ice, what do they mean? Let's look at these two contenders for the end of the world. First, fire. Now scientists say the Earth's core could heat up or the sun could explode. But for Frost, fire represents desire. Think of greed, lust, and uncontrolled ambition. Like a fire, these emotions spread fast and consume everything in their path. If you want everything for yourself, you'll eventually burn the world down. Because, come what may, greed, lust, and uncontrolled ambition are all very selfish virtues. And then, on the other hand, there's ice. This represents a cold death, a literal freezing of the planet in scientific terms. Philosophically, Frost links ice to hate. But wait, why ice? How can ice end the world? Because hate, which Frost links to ice. Hate isn't always loud. Sometimes it's cold, silent, and indifferent. Think of how people treat each other with coldness or rigidity. Remember, it's slow destruction, but as Frost says, for the end of the world, ice is also great and would suffice. So don't you agree? Not everything needs to be burnt down. This cold hatred would also eventually end up giving the same result. Now let's take a bit of a breakdown. Let's narrow down a few points from your examination point of view. Let's take a look at the rhyme scheme. The poem follows a unique rhyme scheme where the pattern you will see is ABA, ABC, BCB. It's interlocking. It shows how both elements are tied together. Now he also uses imagery. Throughout the poem you will notice the stark contrast. We have the tasting of desire and the knowing of hate. Desire, hatred are simultaneously spoken of. Anaphora, where you notice the first two lines which start with some say. Now this is anaphora. It emphasizes the different opinions people have about the future. Frost also uses personification, where he treats fire and ice as living giants capable of destroying the entire planet. So, a key message that we can get from this poem is where we can actually get ourselves to thinking deeply. The key message is that we need to think deeply for ourselves. We need to take a look at this poem and ask ourselves, what is the takeaway? Robert Frost doesn't pose merely as a scientist. He's a moralist, in fact, in this poem. He's telling us that the weapons of our own destruction are sitting right inside our hearts. Whether it is the hot anger of war or the cold indifference of social hate, humanity has enough emotional power to end itself. Because humanity is being based on, unfortunately, these waves of hot anger and waves of cold indifference, social hatred. When you write your long answers, remember to mention this point, that if fire is active destruction, ice is passive destruction, and both are equally deadly. Next time you feel a surge of greed or a cold wave of dislike, remember this poem. The world might not end today, but how we treat each other determines if this world is worth living in. With this, I sign off for Fire and Ice, giving you a good food for thought. Before I sign off, let me read out the poem to you once again. Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. See you again with the next lesson.